Okay, welcome back everybody. Like I mentioned in the last video, I don't have pictures of this either, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. Well, that and I can't show you on here because, like in the last two videos, I'm shooting this off my computer's webcam. I can't really show you. The thing is, as I mentioned in the last video, there's a whole story about Friday and Saturday night that I want to tell here. Friday night I, closed again after I closed Thursday night. I'll tell you what, it was interesting. I did remember to take my edible arrangement home Friday night, as I mentioned in the last video. I went home, got the edible arrangement into the refrigerator at the house. My house, not this house. I'm still, in case you missed it in the first video, I'm out here visiting my parents. They're still outside, in their camper, hanging out. Dad wanted to put on some ball game, and we didn't feel like watching. My mom went out there to watch it with him. Just to have adult talk, or, parental talk. But that aside, the thing is, I got home Friday night, and I think I went to bed about 3:30 in the morning on Saturday. I couldn't go to sleep. And then I turned around and got up at 6:30 in the morning. Because Tony and I went to the Ohio Renaissance Festival already. That's what we did Saturday. We went there with Tony's bud, Dave. And, the three of us stopped at Cracker Barrel, which I will do the restaurant review on that here in a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the fact that we went to the Ohio Renaissance Festival. And, one thing though, just so you know, and this is why I'm shooting the restaurant review separately from this, because I'm going to talk about the Renaissance Festival exclusively on this video, and the restaurant in a separate video, because it's two different things, okay? Well, and one thing, and I've always said this, and I went on Facebook and invited a bunch of people. It only ended up really, like as a group, there's only three of us that ended up going off of that invite off of Facebook, and I invited a bunch of people. Well, it ended up being me, Tony, and Dave. Or Tony, Dave, and myself, to use proper grammar. So the grammar Nazis don't have, a stroke or whatever. But here's the thing. We had a good time. I'll tell you what, though. Like I said, I only had like maybe 3 hours of sleep. So I'd been up since whenever I got up Friday afternoon, or Friday. Stayed up till 3:30 Saturday morning. Went to bed. Could not go to sleep. And I'm sure you all have had that where it's like, it's like, okay, you have to go to bed and you have to get to sleep. And you have to go to bed and you have to get to sleep. But for some reason, the worse you try to go to sleep, the more awake you become. And I'm like, you asshole. And it's just, I finally gave it up because I tried to go to bed early. I was going to take melatonin for it, but I didn't want to be talking out of my rump the rest of the day on Saturday. Melatonin is actually best to take if you know you're going to get like 8 hours of sleep, because you're going to go to sleep, and you're going to sleep for 8 hours solid. Or it'll help you sleep for 8 hours solid. I knew I wasn't going to get that much sleep, so I was like, I'm not even going to bother, but it's just, I finally gave it up and fell asleep about 3:30 Saturday morning, and got up at 6:30, like I said. We had a good time at the festival. I don't have it here with me either, because, like I said, I'm at my parents' house, and, the stuff that I got is at home. Stuff Tony got is at home. But what it is we actually bought stuff, while we're at the festival, which we always do. I bought a cup and a necklace, a very nice necklace, and Tony bought a dagger with brass knuckles on it. So I would not recommend breaking in the house, because Tony's got a knife with brass knuckles on it. And you don't want to see this knife, because that thing is bad. And I'm not saying bad like as in, it's awful. It's like Michael Jackson bad, like that kind of bad, and because it's, brass knuckles, the whole works, and it's about from hilt to tip. It's about or handle the tip, it's about, I'd say, a good foot long. So I would, and it's got a serrated edge. Very sharp, according to Tony. I'll take his word for it. I'm not messing with it. I don't even like the thing. But he bought that because that's what he wanted. But yeah, the three of us had a good time. I mean, at one point during the day, I have to say, Tony, Dave, and I went like 3 different ways and just did 3 different things. Because I just, Tony and Dave at one point was listening to this dude that was a friar, singing and telling terrible jokes. And Tony was finishing his bread bowl, which, incidentally, if you go up there to the festival, get a bread bowl, they're good. I mean, because he got one that was chili, cheese, and onions in a bread bowl, and it was good. I helped him eat it. I took like 3 bites of it, and that was all I wanted of it, and he inhaled the rest of it. But one thing, and I do recommend doing this, Tony and I did this on Saturday. He and I, what we did is we packed a cooler full of water and left it out in the car, and, we got our hands stamped. Of course, the stamp's long since gone off my hand, so I've had a bath, several baths since then. But, we went and got our hands stamped, went out and just drank copious amounts of water, and then went back in. The only gripe I have against the festival is they have porta potties for the bathroom. That's the only problem I have with them. The porta potties stink. I mean, what I would do is I would actually, if I was them, I'd figure out a way to get, like, real bathrooms up there or something. Those porta potty things, especially on a hot day, I would not want to be up there near the privies, those porta potties, when it's a hot day out, because it'd be like, But yeah, we had fun. One thing I've always said, and I've always said this, and I maintain this to this day, and I probably, I'd say 30 years from now, still feel the same way. One thing I would love to do, and I mean, and I've said, I'm pretty sure, I'm 90% sure I've said this in previous videos when I talk about the Renaissance Festival, the Ohio Renaissance Festival, is that I would personally love, and I've never been able to do this, I would love to do this. I would personally love just to have a whole group get together and either meet Tony and I up there, and the whole lot of us hang out, and when I say a whole lot of us, I'm talking like 50 to 100 people or more, just like a bunch, just like a whole bunch of people, just a lot, as many as you could cram in several cars and drive up there. The only problem is, and I do recommend carpooling still, because it's still $3 cash only to park. And that's one thing you got to keep in mind if you go to the festival, is it's $3 to park, American dollars cash only, to park up there. And then and you go in and then you park and then you get in. The other thing, and I recommend you doing this, is on before you go up to the festival, I would recommend you either A, buy your tickets online, or B, go to Kroger's, like a local Kroger's, anywhere here in Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and buy the tickets, because they're discounted at Kroger's. And they are somewhat on the webpage. It just depends on what you're looking to do. The webpage has like a combo pack where it's like a 4-pack of, it's like a ticket, your admission ticket, food, a souvenir cup, and I think a game. And for the 4-pack, it's like it's like $100 and something. But you have to print it off, and that's the only thing. That's part of the reason why Tony and I don't buy the tickets online, is because we don't have a printer with this computer. The fat lot of good it'll do us to buy the tickets, because we can't print them online. If we were to buy them online. So that's why we go to Kroger's, just buy the regular tickets, and I think you get like $3 off a ticket, which is worth it, because it's like about $20 now, plus tax, if you were to go there to the actual festival and pay for it outright. So I recommend you do that. That's the best way to go, is to go Kroger's and get it. And while you're in there, pick up a case of bottled water and like some ice, and then head on up to the festival to, enjoy yourself. And one other thing is take a bunch of money with you, cash money, because not all of the vendors that are there take credit cards. Most of them, like the food and the drink, are cash only. So, there was one girl that I invited to come with us that she ended up not going because she's like, well, I don't know why, people are, I couldn't, find any ATMs. There are ATMs there. So, if you're like, well, all I have is my debit card or whatever, and I forgot to get cash out, well, there's ATMs up there. I mean, there's like 2 right by the entrance, and then there's one in the back by the mud show. And I even told her that. I said, there's 3 there. Well, 2 for sure. I didn't know that they had split the one thing in half, and had one ATM on this side, one ATM on the other side, and then there's one back by the mud show. I told her that. I said, why didn't you go to an ATM? She said, there's not an ATM up there. I said, yeah, there is. There's 2 of them. I said, there's one right by the entrance and one right back there by the mud show. I said, I've known that for years. You could have asked me. Oh well. But it is what it is. But yeah, it's, I would, I just really wish I could finally, get, well, like a whole bunch of folks together and go up there, like I said, at least 50 to 100 people. But, that's a pipe dream on my end. So, I mean, I'll get over it. But, yeah, I wanted to say we had the best time up there. Of course, on the way up there, when we were at the Cracker Barrel, I had to drink a couple cups. Well, I got 1 whole cup of coffee in me and like 3 or 4 sips of the other one, And then we took off and went to the festival. I gotta say, one of my favorite things to watch is the mud show. And the only problem I've got with the mud show is that Chunky isn't there anymore. And, I know I mentioned this previously in one of my previous Ohio Renaissance Festival videos, which, incidentally, I do recommend watching that playlist. And, seeing some of the other videos where I talk about the festival and everything. But, I've told this story, I know, at least once before in those videos. But, several years ago, it was, like, literally, like, Tony and I had only been married a week. And I know I just talked in the last video about our anniversary being last week. It was actually 8 years ago yesterday on the 17th. We went to the festival. Well, we're there, and Tony and I are wearing matching shirts that we had gotten on the main part of our honeymoon down in Gatlinburg. It said, just married across the top. And then it had, like, mountains and, like, 2 bears and a hot tub. This is the only time we ever got to wear the shirt. And I told Tony, I said, let's wear this shirt because, this is one time I think we should wear it. And I told him, I said, it'll make you easy to spot. Oh, it did. It was a white shirt, and it was airbrushed. And I was glad we got to at least wear it once, 8 years ago. And people kept congratulating us. Well, we're sitting there, and we went to the mud show. And Chunky's up there, and they're getting ready to do Dante's Inferno. Okay. Well, as one of my cousins in Harlan says, he's like, they're like doing the mud show, and he goes, ooh, it's like something came up, and he went, ooh, Kentucky, and I went, woohoo! And he heard me, do that, and he turned around and looked at us, and we had on these shirts, and we're sitting next to each other, and he said, just married. He's like, these 2 just got married, and he had us stand up. It was romance weekend, as it turns out. It was very appropriate. It was the weekend of September 17th and 18th. And as I mentioned in a previous video, today's the 18th. And he said, stand up, you 2, so we can give you a round of applause. And we got a round of applause. Because it says, our church said, just married. And, and it had the date we were married airbrushed on it and everything too. It was great towards the bottom of the shirt, but it is just Yeah, everybody kept congratulating us and everything. I mean, I'm sorry, my nose is itching. Like I mentioned in a previous video, my allergies are bothering me, okay? But, yeah, it was funny. I mean, yeah, it is like, we had the best time with that. And that's part of the reason why I miss Chunky so much, is because I remember that from when Tony and I had first got married, and it was just, the highlight of our honeymoon was that from the festival. And we saw him the next year, and I bought this really nice umbrella, and I used it this year too. I've had that umbrella for 7 years. It's fine. It's not broken or anything. I've taken really good care of it. I bought it at the festival. And he looked at us and he said, the next year, he's like, why are you two not holding hands? I'm like, I'm holding this umbrella, and I have been beating Tony with it accidentally for like, hours since we bought it. Well, we'd only had it for like a half hour at that point. I was whacking him with it, not intentionally, mind you, but I kept hitting him with it by accident. And like, oh, we're fine, He's like, you guys still married? Yeah, we've been married for a year now. It was like, we made it a year, but yeah, now 8 years later, we, still go to see the Mud Show. And Tony and I both agree, we miss Chunky being, in the Mud Show. 'Cause oh my gosh, he was so funny. And we wanted, to say hi to him and say, hey, guess what? We're still married 8 years later, and everything. And, I mean, that was like one of my favorite memories of the festival was, that happening, 8 years ago, him having us get that ovation. I'm sorry, my nose is itching. Oh my god, my nose is itching. Like I said, my allergies are bothering me something fierce. But anyway, one thing before I close is I want to say, other than my nose is still itching, we're not going back up there this year, but we are planning on going in 2014. And we haven't decided, of course, it's too early to say when we're going to go up in 2014. It'll probably be in September, because last year in 2012, Tony and I went on October the 1st of 2012. That was an experience neither one of us wants to repeat, because it was cold. It was really stinking cold that day. And I tell you what, it was a good thing I had my winter coat in the trunk of my car, because I pulled it out and put it, or like we were pulling coats out of the trunk of my car. We just, I keep a heavy coat in the back of the trunk of my car. We pulled out two coats. I had Tony's coat and my coat. Tony apparently didn't realize he had left his work jacket in the trunk of my car. And it was a heavier jacket. It wasn't like a heavy jacket, but it was heavier. And, it's like he put on my jacket. I pulled out his and put it on. And he looked at me and he said, last year in 2012, he's like, trade me jackets. And I said, okay. Yeah, we got pictures of me wearing my winter coat. And we're up there like, okay, it's like way too bleeding cold this year. And this was, last year in 2012. We were like, okay, in 2013, we are going in September. We ain't doing this October bit again. So we went in September this year. Or we went this past weekend. We did fine. I do have to say, Saturday when we went, I don't have pictures of this, although I wish I had taken photos of this. It's like the fish that got away photos. Tony put on a kilt. He put on a kilt, and he had his pants on underneath it, but I was like, I wish I had the presence of mind at that point to snap pictures, because it was worth it. I mean, it would have been worth it. Of course, there is a joke. What does a man wear under his kilt? His wife's lipstick. I know I'm being a little bit perverted to live. But yeah, Tony, I think, said he'd wear one to the festival only. But, it is what it is. And, we had a good time. And I'll tell you what the funniest thing is, though. We got home from the festival Saturday, and, we parted ways with Dave, because he rode up there with us. That's Tony's buddy that I mentioned earlier that went up there with us on Saturday. Well, we went home. I took a hot shower and we stayed home. I was like, I am not going anywhere and I am not doing anything else. I'm done. I ended up going to bed and sleeping until like Sunday afternoon. I just was so dragged out tired because, like I mentioned at the beginning, I hadn't had much sleep. I had maybe like 3 hours of sleep, maybe. I'm not sure. I wouldn't swear to it. But yeah, I was tired. I was dead tired that night. I just slept and slept and slept and slept and slept, and then came out here and celebrated my mom's birthday with my family and stuff. But oh my gosh, yeah. If anybody wants to go to the Ohio Renaissance Festival with Tony and I, PM me your, email address and your real name, and I've said that before, and nobody's ever done it, but if anybody out there is going to be in the Cincinnati area, probably, I'd say in September of next year, of 2014, fire me off a PM here on Facebook, or if you're, on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, do it, or here on YouTube. That's what I was trying to say. I'm being weird now. But anyway, hang on just a moment, because I do have other videos to shoot, okay? So hang on.